Hey there, Dize here for Status Coup, and I have another update for you about the Tara Reade case. Tara Reade being the former staffer of then Senator Joe Biden, who has accused him of sexual assault. In my previous video, we talked about the fact that there are people who in her life that said, yes, Tara came to me and told me about this back then, back in the 90s. Well, today, this is breaking news as I'm recording this, so I'm learning about this with you. Today, a former neighbor of Tara Reade's has come forward and said, yes, Tara Reade told me about this back in the mid-90s. So this is yet another corroboration of Tara Reade's story and allegations against former Vice President Joe Biden. So let's read this breaking news. This is by Rich McHugh in the Business Insider. A former neighbor of Joe Biden's accuser, Tara Reade, has come forward to corroborate her sexual assault account, saying Reade discussed the allegations in detail in the mid-1990s. The bullet points here are: Tara Reade, a former staffer in Joe Biden's Senate office, has accused the Democratic presidential nominee of sexually assaulting her in a congressional hallway in 1993. Now Reade's former neighbor, Linda Lacasses, a Biden supporter, tells Insider that Reade told her about the alleged assault in detail in 1995 or 1996. This happened, and I know it did because I remember talking about it. A former colleague of Reade's also told Insider that Reade talked in the mid-1990s of being sexually harassed by her former boss in Washington. The women came forward just days after video emerged of a woman that Reade says is her mother calling into CNN's Larry King Live in 1993 to talk about her daughter's problems with a prominent senator. Biden has not addressed the accusations, but a campaign spokesperson says they are false. And, okay, that's just a bid for people to subscribe, but here's the story. In March, when a former aide to Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden accused the candidate of sexually assaulting her in 1993, two people came forward to say that the woman, Tara Reade, had told them of the incident shortly after it allegedly occurred: her brother, Colin Moulton, and a friend who asked to remain anonymous for fear of retribution. Now, two more sources have come forward to corroborate certain details about Reade's claims. One of them, a former neighbor of Reade's, has told Insider for the first time, on the record, that Reade disclosed details about the alleged assault to her in the mid-1990s. This happened, and I know it did because I remember talking about it, Linda Lacasses, who lived next door to Reade in the mid-1990s, told Insider. The other source, Lorraine Sanchez, who worked with Reade in the office of a California state senator in the mid-1990s, told Insider that she recalls Reade complaining at the time that her former boss in Washington, D.C. had sexually harassed her and that she had been fired after raising concerns. So, again, I want to point out that a lot of Joe Biden supporters want to discredit Tara Reade or say that she's not credible because she's coming forward now that he's the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party to become President of the United States. Well, we have already had people on the record who've come forward. We have the Larry King interview, or Larry King call-in from her mother from 1993. And now there are two additional people. I believe that makes 7 or 8 people who corroborate her story from the time that it occurred. So this adds a lot of credibility, in my opinion, to Tara Reade's case that Joe Biden sexually assaulted her. Again, this is just an allegation. I don't know. I don't have the answers, but this certainly adds a lot of weight to what Tara Reade is claiming. Then the article goes into Katie Halper's interview where Tara explains that Biden pushed her up against a wall, reached under her skirt, and penetrated her with his fingers, and then said some disgusting things like, "Aw man, I heard you liked me, and you are okay, you are fine," before walking away. And Tara Reade also says that the way that Biden looked at her and touched her made her uncomfortable. The Biden camp has denied Reade's allegations, saying, "Women have a right to tell their story, and reporters have an obligation to rigorously vet those claims," Kate Bedingfield, Biden's communications director, said in a statement earlier this month. "We encourage them to do so because these accusations are false." Asked to comment specifically on Lacasses and Sanchez's comments, Bedingfield referred Insider to her prior statement. She did not respond to a request to interview Biden about Reade's accusations. This is another avenue. Where are the records that may be there detailing Reade's claims from back then? So Insider sought access to Biden's senatorial papers, which are housed at the University of Delaware, to search for records that may shed light on Reade's claims. The university denied the request, saying that Biden's papers will remain closed to the public until 2 years after Mr. Biden retires from public life. Lacasses told Insider that in 1995 or 1996, Reade told her that she had been assaulted by Biden. "I remember her saying, here was this person that she was working for, and she idolized him," Lacasses said. "And he kind of put her up against a wall, and he put his hand up her skirt, and he put his fingers inside her. She felt like she was assaulted, and she really didn't feel there was anything she could do." Lacasses said that she remembers Reade getting emotional as she told the story. "She was crying," she said. "She was upset, and the more she talked about it, the more she started crying. I remember saying that she needed to file a police report." Lacasses said she does not recall whether Reade supplied any other details, like the location of the alleged assault or anything Biden may have said. "I don't remember all the details," Lacasses said. "I remember the skirt. I remember the fingers. I remember she was devastated." Lacasses is the first person to independently corroborate, in detail and on the record, that Reade had told others about her assault allegations contemporaneously. Reade's brother Colin Moulton previously told Insider that he recalled his sister saying that Biden had his hand under her clothes at some point. In a series of interviews with Insider over the last week, Lacasses said she decided to speak up now, at a time when Reade's story is under intense scrutiny in the media and facing denials from the Biden campaign, because she believed Reade's account when she first heard it. "I have to support her just because that's what happened," Lacasses said. "We need to stand up and tell the truth." Lacasses, 60, is a retired former medical staff coordinator and emergency room clerk in San Luis Obispo General Hospital. She lived next door to Reade in 1995 and 1996 in an apartment complex near the beach in Morro Bay, California, a seaside community between Santa Barbara and Monterey. She told Insider that she and Reade shared a bond because they were both mothers, and their young daughters swam together in the apartment complex's indoor pool. Lacasses said she would sometimes sit on her front stoop to smoke cigarettes after putting her daughter to bed, and that Reade would occasionally join her. It was during one of those evening conversations, she said, that Reade told her about the alleged assault. "We were talking about violent stories," Lacasses said, "because I had a violent situation. We just started talking about things, and she just told me about the senator that she had worked for, and he put his hand up her skirt." Lacasses acknowledged that coming forward to support an allegation against the Democratic presidential nominee may have repercussions for me, but she said she has no political axe to grind and intends to vote for Biden. I have questions about that. "I am personally a Democrat, a very strong Democrat," she said, "and I'm for Biden, regardless. But I still have to come out and say this." And Insider goes into the fact that they corroborated the things that Lacasses had said. And let's see here. Again, I'm reading this for the first time with you. The rest seems to just be kind of a summary here. After seeing how political operatives and news organizations responded to the claim, the Biden camp denied it outright, and critics scoured Reade's social media accounts for evidence of a purported affinity for Vladimir Putin. Lacasses said she decided to come forward. "She didn't ask me to," Lacasses said. "I volunteered to do that just recently. If this was me, I would want somebody to stand up for me. It takes a lot of guts to do what she's doing." Yet another source reached by Insider corroborates some of Reade's claims about her time working for Biden. After she left Washington, D.C., Reade worked for California State Senator Jack O'Connell. Lorraine Sanchez, a former legislative staffer in O'Connell's office, mentored Reade and worked alongside her from 1994 through 1996. Sanchez told Insider that Reade complained at the time about being mistreated by her former employer. Reade said she had been sexually harassed by her former boss while she was working in D.C., Sanchez said, and as a result of her voicing her concerns to her supervisors, she was let go, fired. On and on. I will link to this piece in the description area, but I think you get the point here. So what we have now are two more people corroborating Tara Reade's story, her allegations against Joe Biden. We have reached the point where we now have the Larry King tape, we have these additional corroborations. Joe Biden needs to address this directly, and he needs to do so quickly. Everybody thinks of, oh, Uncle Joe eating his ice cream. Good old Uncle Joe rides the Amtrak train. A person can have good attributes. Joe Biden might seem to be a nice person to some, or people might have had good interactions with him, or maybe he has one or two good policy ideas. That's probably about it. That doesn't mean he didn't do this. And the facts and the evidence are really piling up here. They can't just have Kate Bedingfield come out and say, oh, go back and look at my previous statement. Oh, yeah, go back and look at my previous statement. That's no longer going to work. Joe Biden, what do you have to say for yourself? Again, we here at Status Coup will stay on top of this story. I just wanted to give you an update as this just broke in the news, Business Insider. More and more details are coming out all of the time, and it's unfortunately not looking good. The allegation is looking more and more credible. And I'll say it again, Joe Biden needs to speak out on this right now. And Joe Biden supporters really need to take a deep, deep look at themselves and say, am I willing to support someone with this kind of allegation and this kind of credibility behind the allegation? It's an easy choice in my opinion. All right, I will see you later with the next update.